On my right, there's two bulls fighting. I can see them going, their bodies moving back and forth between the trees. And then all of a sudden I hear this.
Didn't go 20. Woo!
I shot him. Did you hear that?
No. We both just shot the same bull.
Shot him first.
He shot him first. Oh my gosh. What a heck of a pursuit, dude. All freaking day.
Just dropped my first archery bull elk. 6x6. Right behind the shoulder. Dropped him. You dropped him, Dad. Dad, you dropped him. Thank you, Jesus. Oh, Father, we praise you. Thank you, Lord. Congratulations, Dad. You just shot your first bull elk. I think we're going to find one. Love you. I love you. So happy for you.
When your buddy calls you, says he got a buck down. And what does he got? A buck down. Look what I found. What a sweet coon, man. Opening day, heck yeah. Way to go, Steve.
See, the arrow went in pretty deep. That's buddy. Hell yeah. Let's go.
Arizona Archery Club is a premier partner with Bowhunting AZ. When it comes to attention to detail and a fiery passion, Arizona Archery Club brings it all to the table. With all the latest bows and archery equipment, you can demo every single model in person free of charge in their multiple demo rooms. Walk through the process with an experienced bow tech and see which bow is right for you without the sales pressure. Their indoor archery range offers air-conditioned lanes where you can shoot out to 40 yards. Take this awesome opportunity to hone in your accuracy and technique. When you visit, be sure to mention that you're a listener to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Let's all support local. National Automotive Repair is a locally owned and operated auto repair shop in the heart of Phoenix, Arizona. Jake McLaughlin and his team operate their business with a foundation of honesty, quality, and integrity. From routine oil changes to larger mechanical repairs, National Automotive can solve your issues and have you back in operation. The shop is located right off of I-17 and Thunderbird off Sweetwater Avenue, or call Monday through Friday from 8 a.m. to 5:30 at 602-978-3278. Built mountain tough, Scree Gear offers hunters the highest quality clothing for affordable prices. With patterns designed by military concealment specialists, Scree Gear brings you closer to the game without being detected. With every climate in mind, Scree Gear hosts a huge selection of clothing for all the terrains of North America and beyond. Check out Scree Gear today at www.screegear.com. Use promo code BowhuntingAZ for 15% off your first order. Real estate agents, are you looking to make your listing stand out? Arizona Listing Media has been transforming real estate listings since 2013 with their 5-star Google-rated services. Arizona Listing Media offers stunning photography, captivating drone footage, immersive 3D tours, and engaging video reels to showcase your properties at their very best. Are you ready to elevate your marketing game? Visit ArizonaListingMedia.com and book your session today. Let's make your next listing unforgettable.
Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Today we're out here at the Hike to Hunt Challenge again, doing a little live podcast event. So I'm pulling different vendors and just talking to some really great people today. And today I have with me Dakota from TDK Safaris. You might also know Dakota from
Arizona Archery Club.
That's right. Welcome, buddy. I'm glad to have you on, man.
Yeah, no, thanks for having me.
Absolutely, buddy. So dude, this is kind of near and dear to my heart because I just did all this. So I'm excited to chat with you in particular because you're on the outfitter side of things.
Yep.
So throw out the name of your outfit.
Yeah, so we're TDK Safaris, based in South Africa, Limpopo province.
Nice. I love, dude, that Limpopo area is,
It's fantastic.
I don't know why I expected, I don't know. I think a lot of people think North Africa sometimes. They
Mhm.
think, the Sahara.
Yeah, that
just
wide open grassland and
barren kind of a
Yep.
little bit. And then
Yep.
when I went there, I was like, dude, this is so lush. I'm like, holy cow.
Yep.
And I was there in the dry season too.
Yep.
So it's not even like when it's, all green and the bush was mostly dead.
Yep.
But it was still just tons of life and water, and it's cool.
Yeah, the diversity over there is insane.
Wild. Yeah, absolutely wild. So I think a lot of hunters, obviously not everybody, but I think a lot of hunters eventually grow to the point where they want or aspire to want to go hunt Africa. And I
Mhm.
feel like that's just like a part of the evolution of a hunter. So like, if you've ever dreamed of, tracking kudu, in the bush or whatever, and just watching the sunrise over baobab trees,
Mhm.
that was cool seeing that.
Yep.
Let's just kind of talk about how that dream becomes a little bit of a reality. And I think I want to remove specifically with you and how we were talking in your tent earlier. Let's remove some of the stigma of like, oh, that's just a dream. Not really. It's actually cheaper than you think.
Yep. Yeah, it's a
So,
lot closer than people realize.
yeah. And I think that's one of the, maybe safety's a little bit of it too, but
Mhm.
like safety and then just like overall cost. Maybe we can help alleviate some of that a little bit.
Definitely.
But let's start off with just TDK Safaris.
Yeah.
What's the origin story?
It's kind of a wild one, so you might want to buckle your seatbelt.
Let me put my camp chair seatbelt
Yeah.
on real quick.
Yeah, so 2009 and 2010, my family had gone on our own safaris. 2010 was it was a full month long, 2 weeks in South Africa, 2 weeks in Zimbabwe.
Oh wow.
We had a lot of animals on our bucket list. I had a buffalo that I was going to do with my bow.
Yeah.
We got to Zimbabwe, everything was going great, and we'd met this outfitter. We'd gone with him the year prior. Met his family, his wife, kids, all that stuff. We absolutely loved him. Hunt was coming to an end in Zimbabwe. I still had, I don't know, like a month, 2 months left on my visa. So I was like, hey, I can get some life experience. I was 16 at the time, like, a little wet behind the ears. It's like, let's get some experience and, have a little bit of an adventure.
Yep.
Now my dad was like, yeah, let's all for it. Let's do this. My mom was like, yeah, no, we're not doing that. So there was a little bit of back and forth. Eventually though, we came to the, conclusion to let me stay. So night after my parents left, the outfitter ended up taking off with all of the trophy fee money, all of the hunt money, not paying the landowner that we were on because we were using somebody else's camp. Took off middle of the night.
Jeez.
That landowner ended up calling Zimbabwean authorities out and holding me and 3 other people for ransom for about a month and a half.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Obviously it was kind of a back and forth between landowners and my parents, and then my parents and the outfitter trying to get, this money situated.
Right.
The outfitter, which we knew at the time, but again, it wasn't that big a deal to us because we'd met him before. He was ex-South African police. And so during this time, like, my parents are going after him. Obviously they left their 16-year-old son in Zimbabwe, without a way out. He was telling them that if he or his people ever saw me in South Africa, they'd never see me again. So about a month and a half, they held us there. They didn't give us food, didn't give us water. We had to fish out of the Zambezi River to get sustenance, month and a half goes by. I run, they let me and one other guide go.
Okay.
So we go to Botswana. Well, I enter Botswana, and now I've got a rifle with me, and they want to arrest me because I'm not 21 trying to bring a rifle into the country. So we get that sorted out. We tell them the story. Everything was fine. They just kept the rifle at the airport. It was no big deal. Stayed there for about a month. After that month was over, went down to South Africa, and FIFA World Cup was there, so there were no flights in or out that year. So we ended up taking off after about total 3 months.
Okay.
We had gone back twice because we love this place so much. And we just decided that this was never going to happen to anybody ever again. Not that we had heard that happening, obviously.
Sure.
But we were just like, we just can't let that happen. This country is too amazing. It's too beautiful. We have to do something about it. And that's why we started TDK.
Okay.
So we've been going for about, I think it's about 13 years now. We started in 2012. So
Nice.
yeah.
How did you basically end up getting involved and what is your role specifically, I guess? I mean, you have probably people kind of hold different titles within this or whatever. Like, what is your specific title?
Yeah. So right now I'm just marketing manager. I'm doing kind of the US side of things, going to stuff like Hike to Hunt.
Okay.
There was a shoot in California that I just got back from not too long ago.
Oh,
So I'm kind of doing that, just kind of showing face here.
Yeah.
And kind of meeting people and
Okay.
and telling them the story.
This might be a dumb question, but I just don't know. Can an American become a PH?
They can. It's a little bit different though. So we still have to get permanent residency there, which
okay.
when we first started, I was actually able to go through PH school and I had gotten my PH license.
Yeah.
I still had to have a South African PH there with me
Okay.
during those guiding sessions, but that was my initial role at the beginning. Was I was guiding and doing hunts, but then it kind of evolved more into me doing the marketing. And
Okay.
now Kevin, who's our South African guy, he stays there and does most of the guiding and all that kind of stuff.
Gotcha. So for those that don't know, PH is professional hunter, which I don't want to say degree, but it's like a certification.
Yep.
Like a very high certification.
Yeah.
And you know, it's kind of a revered thing over there, I guess. So it's like, oh, you have your PH cert, you know.
Yep.
So yeah, I learned that when I went over the first time.
Mhm.
Why do you think so many people kind of dream of hunting in Africa?
Honestly, I think it just comes from the history of hunting Africa. I mean, most hunters I think are fairly historical. Like the reason that we hunt is it's a primal need, right? And that's evolved over time. People like Theodore Roosevelt and Peter Capstick and stuff like that, they've told these stories and it evokes a certain emotion for us. Like we see these animals maybe in a zoo,
Yeah.
but then when we're able to go over and see these things in their natural habitat,
Right.
like it's just a completely different experience. So I think that's the biggest reason why is I think it's just a very ethereal mindset. Like we just don't know what it's like until we're there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's who keeps saying it lately? Might be Joe Rogan, but somebody keeps talking about how it's like watching somebody for the first time catch a fish. And this like primal thing that it brings out in you, like, oh my gosh, like I'm gonna survive, I'm gonna live.
Yep.
And it's like, well, now do that in hunting. It's like that times 1,000. Like
Yeah, 100%.
Yeah.
100%. Sometimes the way we describe it to people is like when we first went over there, and even now when we go to, our concession, is as soon as we step foot on soil,
Yeah.
like our soul just kind of goes into the land.
Yep.
Like it's an insane feeling for sure.
Yeah. I might sound kind of corny, but like one of my favorite things when I go to a location is just smelling some of the plants.
Yep.
So like if I'm hunting juniper, like I'll immediately grab juniper, kind of rub it in my hands and smell that. Same thing for pine. Like I love smelling it just because all of the seasons, all of the memories immediately come back from that one smell, whatever. So it's like kind of the same thing for Africa too, right?
100%. Yeah.
What are some of the most what you would say are the most iconic species that people come to hunt there?
I think first one that comes to mind is kudu. The gray ghost is just one of those that just pops into everybody's mind. I mean, I have it tattooed on my arm.
Sure.
Like,
yeah,
that's just one of those species that everybody thinks of. I think from there it's probably impala. And then I think probably starts going into dangerous game, buffalo and lion and that kind of stuff.
absolutely. Can you kind of paint a picture for the listener? Just describe like a typical day of hunting in the bush with TDK.
Yeah, so we're a little bit smaller of a company, so we try to make our experiences way more personal. So we usually ask the people that are coming what they like to do. Like a lot of Western hunters, like you kind of alluded to earlier, getting up at the crack of dawn, right? So we'll do that. Like sometimes people want to do that and get up early. Sometimes people want to sleep in. Just kind of depends on the day, but we'll wake up around 6 a.m., 6:30. We'll have breakfast, kind of get out once the sun's starting to come up. Especially in the wintertime there, animals love coming out into those open fields and kind of catching those morning rays, mainly because northern Limpopo is still a little bit more humid.
Sure.
So wet night gets a little bit cooler. So they like warming up, especially warthogs and stuff like that. A little less fur. They're looking for that warmth, right? So we'll get out there, we'll hunt until around noonish, come back, eat, and we usually take about a 2 to 3 hour kind of break.
Okay.
It gets pretty warm. I'm sure you can attest to that. Like, even though it's in the wintertime, like that 80 degrees, like feels really warm.
Sure.
So we'll take a break for a little while and then we'll get back out around 3 or 4, and then hunt until it's dark.
Yeah. Yeah. I specifically remember that was first thing in the morning. We were at our concession still, but coming out even on the concession lawn, there would be warthogs and vervet monkeys everywhere on the lawn. It was like, holy crap. These are things that are all over the place.
Yep.
And I don't, trying to think what else we saw that a lot in the morning. Some baboons on occasion in the morning, but
I'm sure probably some impala probably came out a little bit in the morning.
Impala. Oh, what's the darn birds that they have like crazy out there?
The ones that sound crazy, or they just look
They're almost like a version of their turkey.
like an ibis, like a Hadida ibis,
No, maybe they're like this big.
guinea fowl.
Yes, guineas.
Yeah,
yes.
yeah.
I remember
Yep.
guineas being all over the
Yep.
place too.
Yep.
Tons and tons of those. What are some of the biggest misconceptions that you see people having about booking a hunt in Africa?
I think kind of like what we started with a little bit earlier is I think the price. I think a lot of people think they're going to have to like sell their kidney to afford a hunt there. And I think that's just, I don't know why. I don't know if it's just because, again, it's a dream. So people haven't done their research, or, if people are, seeing these big hunts like elephant and stuff like that, and just automatically thinking that that's what everything is going to be.
Sure.
I think that's probably the biggest one. The other one I think is safety. I think we see a lot of sensationalized news, especially here in the States, specifically about South Africa.
Sure.
And that's just a minute percentage of what's actually happening over in the actual country.
Dude, when I went, I never felt unsafe at all.
Mhm.
I mean, I felt unsure just because that could be anywhere. I could be in
Right.
South Phoenix and feel
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
Well, it was just a place I'd never been.
Right.
But at no point was I ever like, oh shoot, like I'm concerned. And I had, when I went, to be fair too, I was probably a little more laxed and comfortable because I was there. They knew who we were marketing,
For
doing
sure.
all that, work
Yep.
obligations. But like we pulled up to a gas station, PH got out, went inside. He's like, I'll be right back.
Yep.
Keys were in the car was left on, like,
Yep.
and he was in there for probably 15, 20 minutes and he was talking to some of the locals and just blah, blah, blah. And it was like, no big deal. And there was another, 10, 15 people hanging outside the gas station, just chilling in their afternoon, probably having drinks or whatever, like they do, wander around town.
Yep.
And not in any circumstance was there ever like, I'm concerned right now. I'm left in this unattended vehicle. Like, oh boy, what am I doing?
Yeah. Well, and I think kind of like you said is, there are some places here in the United States that you probably just shouldn't go.
I've had,
Right? Like,
as a real estate photographer, I've had a handful of shoots where I text the agent, was like, I've got 10 grand of equipment. This ain't happening. I'm
Right?
not going to this location that you want me to.
Yeah. So I think it's just somewhat relative. I think having it be just an unknown is probably the biggest part of that.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think that's anywhere.
Sure.
That there's places you just stay away from.
So fair enough to say that maybe you feel unsure about it, but never in any circumstance did I ever feel unsafe.
Yeah.
I think it's important for people to know.
Yeah.
I did feel on edge because we found an impala kill from a leopard. That was the only time, so it wasn't a human.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. I think maybe we put some more specifications on that, like especially if you're in Zimbabwe or something like that and you're camping out in a tent. All right, maybe we can feel a little bit more on edge.
Yeah. But that was the only time where it was like, ooh, all right.
Yep. Yeah, I remember there was a time one of Kevin, his son, and I went out just camping on our concession, right?
Okay.
And I wake up in the middle of the night, and already, right? So it was one of the super like blood moons.
Yeah.
So I see this like orange light coming over the hill. So I'm already thinking, all right, so now there's a fire coming right at me, and it turns out to be the moon.
Yeah.
But then I start hearing two leopards talking on either side,
Jeez.
and I'm like, nah, we're out. I'm not even gonna test that.
Yep. Yeah. We were just driving down the road. I think they were giving us kind of like almost like a concession tour, in the buggy or whatever and stuff. And we're just riding, or a Land Rover, but we're riding around and whatnot. And the PH was like, fresh tracks, and slams it in park real quick, hops out. And we just walked. And then sure enough, we found this impala with its throat ripped out, literally still bleeding underneath this bush. It was dead, but just been killed.
Wow.
And he's like, we're going to put a game on this tonight.
No kidding. Yeah, 100%.
I was like, all right. He's like, he's like a very high chance it could be watching us right now too. So
Yeah.
fortunately they all have rifles and stuff. And he's like, all right, well, we'll come back to this later.
Yep.
But it was cool. I was like, dang, like,
Right.
that's sick.
Yep.
I've never found a mountain lion kill, me personally, and I'm sure people do, but it's like a pretty rare thing. But it's like, we had just gotten there and it was like, boom, leopard. That's like,
Right.
dope.
Yep. Yep. And I'm sure you guys got some pretty sick trail cam photos of that too.
They did. Yeah. I never saw them. I think we ended up leaving the concession later, but they had texted us. They're like, dude, that was a nice leopard. Like they were talking about it later on because we had kind of split PHs. We did
gotcha.
and stuff. And some stayed there and went on with us to the next concession and some didn't. But they were definitely talking about it.
Yeah. Yep.
How does TDK kind of help with travel logistics? Because there are a fair amount of logistics, and logistics can vary depending on what you're doing. So like I know from experience that bringing a bow in, fairly easy.
Yep.
Bringing a firearm, very different.
Yeah.
So how can you kind of speak to some of that and what that all looks like?
Yeah, so we've worked with a company, it's called riflepermits.com on the South African side of things. So they help us out with our SAPS 520 form and that kind of stuff. That's the form you're going to need to fill out for the South African police once you get there.
Yeah.
And then we've also worked with U.S. Customs and Border Protection on our side for our, I think it's a 4457.
Okay.
For the firearm side. Obviously, like you said, the bow is, you don't need a permit or anything. You just put it in your hard case and let it fly. The rifle permit stuff it's fairly simple because it's outside. So we'll meet you in the police station once they get your firearms. So you'll come out without them.
Yep.
And then we'll go into the police station that they have inside the airport together.
Okay.
And then we'll go through all that paperwork.
Okay.
Henry at riflepermits.com is sensational. Like that guy does a great job at getting these permits all set and ready to go before your arrival. That way there's not any issues. So once we get all that set up, we actually also offer another service where somebody will meet you just off the jet bridge.
Okay.
So instead of waiting for somebody after you've already passed through customs and getting your bags and stuff, somebody will get you at the jet bridge and kind of streamline you through customs and then bring you straight out to us.
Okay.
And we usually have a sign. Kevin's usually always there with a sign waiting for you. So
yeah, I can speak to that, dude. That was awesome to have somebody that met you there. And then simultaneously, I sat and watched another hunter that was there and did not have anybody. His outfitter wasn't there. Nobody was there.
that's crazy.
Dude, he was sitting there with a very nice high-end rifle and they would not give it to him. And he hadn't done his forms. He hadn't done anything. And I'm like, dude, just watching this guy like lose his mind.
Yeah, sweating bullets, I'm sure.
They're like, yeah, literally, yeah, right?
Yeah.
Nice pun. And they were like, yeah, we're not giving you your rifle. And he was like furious. And they're like, where's your outfitter? They even asked him that. And he's like, he's like, I'm meeting them at the concession. I drive 5 hours. So he had to go find his own vehicle and drive. And I'm just like, we left.
Wow.
So I don't know what came of that situation, but I just watched that whole thing unfold. And here I am. I'm just like grabbing my bow and like, cool, see you later. Like,
see, and that that's gut wrenching for me to hear that.
Yeah.
'Cause I mean,
that turned into a nightmare trip for him.
yeah, right. Like that may end up very well may being his last hunt,
Sure.
trip there.
Sure.
I mean, some people don't like. Some people would say being held for ransom is probably your last trip, but
Sure.
yeah, like we want to strive to make this trip like is the best thing that you've ever experienced, right? So we'll have Kevin there. Like we have our own vehicle. It's usually a van,
Yeah.
so you've got a nice amount of leg room, so you're not cramped up like you are in a plane.
Yeah, you
and
just get on
then
a plane.
yeah, and then we drive you to our place. It's we definitely don't let people try and find their own transportation. That's wild.
Yeah, I was kind of blown away at that.
Yeah.
Watching what I was going through of like a very similar, experience of
Mm.
like, okay, we're gonna meet you here, we're gonna take care of this. Like,
Yep.
people know people, stuff like that,
Mhm.
and somebody else just being like, what do I do?
Yeah.
What kind of accommodations can hunters kind of expect? Do you just have one concession that you primarily visit?
Yeah, so ours is privately owned, so
Oh, cool.
we own the concession.
Nice.
So we're not leasing it, we're not
Yeah.
doing any of that. So ours is primarily in South Africa. We can go to other concessions in our area, and then we also have some in different countries also.
Sure.
But most of our stuff has been South Africa.
That's awesome.
And I'm sorry, say the question
Yeah,
again?
just kind of what kind of like
Accommodations,
accommodations can
yeah.
they, hunters expect when they arrive at the concession and stuff?
So we've tried to kind of bring the romanticism of an African hunt. So our accommodations are not 5-star, and we did that on purpose.
Yeah.
I mean, they're probably 4. Like we have ensuite bathrooms, hot running water.
Yeah.
So it's not like we're bare bones. Yeah. But we've got 2 different chalets, and we actually just ended up building 2 more. They're 2 separate rooms adjoined by a common sitting area. And we can accommodate, usually it's either 1 queen bed or 2 twin in each room.
Okay.
but yeah, they're thatch roof, stucco sides, pretty much. It's just cement that's kind of got some rock designs in it and stuff like that. But
I dig
yeah.
it. That was so. I had gone to 2 concessions, and I honestly liked the feel of the first one more. And the second one was definitely 5-star, like granite countertops everywhere, marble showers. Like it was like, which is cool. Okay, but if I were to go again, that'd be over the top for me. Like I don't like to do that. I liked the first one better. It was thatch roofs. Like I want the African experience. I can go anywhere in the world and find a 5-star place to stay in, but like I want something a little more authentic. And I'm a guy that's gonna camp in a 2-man tent anyways. So
right.
You're not gonna scare me with the thought of that. Like,
Yeah, and then not only we do the thatched roof and the kind of stucco sides, but our boma is kind of our eating area.
Yeah.
And we have canvas roll up sides. So if it's like warm in the day, like especially for lunch, we'll roll those up.
Yeah.
And our camp is kind of situated in a little rock outcropping.
Okay.
So we've just got big boulders and stuff everywhere, and then we just eat and kind of have all sorts of stuff roaming around. We've had sable roll into camp.
That's cool.
Giraffe, baboons will come through camp every now and again. So I like that just because, again, kind of like you said, it's the African experience, right? You get to kind of be one with it. You're not separated from it.
Exactly. Keep those baboons coming because I've got a vengeance out for one of those suckers.
So do we. So you're more than welcome to come over.
I need to take a mulligan on my last ones.
Yeah, I saw the video on that. Yeah.
That was €1 that I like wanted more than anything.
Yeah.
Like, dude, that would be such a sick Euro piece to have on a shelf. Someone would be like, "What the heck is that?"
Yeah. And in fact, actually, you and me both need a mulligan because one of the last times I was over there, there was a guy come into the archery shop all the time, and we'd talk just because he'd been to Africa so many times. And he was sitting in the blind with me, and I had a baboon at like 54 yards. And I sent it, and it didn't flinch. It just decided that it wanted to get out of the tree right as I released. And so my arrow just pinned the center of that tree right where that baboon was sitting. And I'm like, oh, you got to be kidding me.
Yep. So that's such like a heartbreak too at the same time. And it just makes you want to even more after that. You're like, all right, dude, now I got to get this.
Yeah.
Tell us kind of some personal stories. Like what all have you hunted there? And then just like maybe a favorite memory.
So I've done quite a bit of hunting. Something that my late father and I always do is we just hunt together. That was something that we started out doing when I was like 6. Like he had me shooting prairie dogs and stuff like that with little lever action 22s and stuff like that. And we worked our way up into deer in Wyoming and stuff.
Okay.
So that was something that we love to do together. So I've hunted probably 20 or 30 some odd species in Africa. Okay. I've done 4 of the big 5 with my bow. And that's probably two of the favorite probably memories that I have are probably my buffalo and my elephant. Okay. Both of those I did with my bow. The buffalo was crazy. It was in Zimbabwe. It was in Manapools National Park.
Okay.
And I kid you not, we probably walked 25 miles.
Jeez.
That day. Wow. It was gnarly.
I'll say that's kind of unheard of.
Yeah. I mean, we were hoofing it.
Yeah.
We ended up running into not only our buffalo herd, but there were lions stalking that same buffalo herd. Jeez. And then at one point there was lions on our left, elephants on our right, and the buffalo in front of us. Nice. And so we're just in this conglomeration of death for the most part.
That's
like
a little sketch there.
Right. Like thank God the wind was in the right direction and just blowing straight in our face. We ended up working up into this herd, and the bull that I shot, I think I had my Z7 at the time, which was 70 pounds. I had like probably a 400 or 500 grain arrow.
Yeah.
I worked into 20 yards from him and ended up just absolutely plugging the boiler room. I mean, it was probably the most perfect shot I've ever done to date. And there was a little dry riverbed, and he went down. That was it. The craziest part I think about this whole thing is that as we were waiting there, because they were bringing the trucks because we'd walked so far.
Yeah.
We literally fell asleep next to this dead buffalo. I don't know who thought that was a good idea, but we were just so tired that we just fell asleep next to this thing. Once we got it all gutted up and all that good stuff and brought it back out, that was an awesome experience. The elephant hunt, man, we're in Dande North, which is close to the north side of Zimbabwe. Yep. We'd been hunting for 4 days. We'd tracked a couple, and it was in a campfire area, which is all native population controlled.
Okay.
So they control everybody in and out, all the movements and all that stuff. So we'd been hunting for 4 days. We'd tracked a couple bulls, but nothing that was, really sizable. And we had come across one of the villages, and dude, their field was just completely wrecked. An elephant herd had come through the night before and just completely tore it up. I mean, there was almost nothing left. So they kind of pointed us in the direction that they had last seen him going, and we picked up a track, and this bull was probably the biggest track that we had seen. And I kid you not, we started tracking on this dry riverbed, and then all of a sudden a herd of maybe 80 or 90K buffalo came roaring across this dry riverbed. And we're like, great, well, there goes the track. We were able to move up, though, and they moved off, and we found the track again. And I'll never forget this to the day that I die. But as we started tracking through, obviously elephants with the size that they are, they just make paths through the bush, right? Yeah. I don't know exactly which kind of trees these were, but they created these little domes. And I say little, I mean, they were probably 20, 25 feet high, and probably 15 feet wide. Jeez. But it was just little domes every so often, and then the trails snaking through all of them. Huh. So we get through that, we come into this kind of a clearing where there was a little draw, and then on the other side, we could see some movement. So we start looking. It was mainly cows and calves, which we were a little bit concerned about because the wind was swirling a little bit, and just like grizzly bears or any real female with a cub or baby, probably not going to like you being there. So we were trying to look, and all of a sudden my guide kind of stops, and he like touches me, like trying to get my attention. Yeah. And we look up, I put my binoculars up, and I see this elephant bull, and he has got his tusk in the V of a tree, just resting, just picking stuff off these branches. And these tusks were probably 5.5, 6 feet long. Jeez. Not super thick, but we're like, that's the bull we're going after. Yeah. Now we're trying to work around these cows, trying to figure out how not to get winded by them, but also get in position because he's kind of intermingling in between them. Thankfully, they kind of move off, and he moves kind of to my right. Okay. Work up. We're about 20 yards, which is insane to be 20 yards away from an elephant. I don't know if you got to experience any of that when you were there, like
I was
being
10,
yeah.
But I was in a blind though.
Still, I mean,
I was petrified. Our guy was like, if he wins us, like we might be screwed. I was like, oh great.
Yeah, yeah. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. So we're sitting there, and he's got a massive tree bush right in the center of his vitals. So like, I'm not trying that. And I was shooting with a Hoyt carbon matrix at the time, and I had to train for a long time to do this because I had to pull back 80 pounds, and that was 2011. So yeah, like it was 18, 19, something. Sure. So weren't able to make that happen. He kind of moves off, and then a little bit further away, and we're able to reposition, and we're about 45-ish yards. Okay. I put my 40-yard pin on him and let it fly, and I'm shooting a 700, 800 grain arrow now. Okay. Like, so it's a log flying through the air.
Yeah.
And I realized that we must have misjudged because I don't think we had a rangefinder at the time. But I misjudged the distance a little bit, so it hit a little bit low. Yeah. He ran off, let him simmer for a little bit. We heard a crash. Yep. So we're like, well, that's good. But obviously it's an elephant, so he could have just literally ran over a tree and just made it snap. Walk up to where we shot him. There's the arrow laying on the ground. Oh. Complete pass through.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And we didn't know this. I'll kind of share about it and where it went later, but start tracking. And I mean, it's crazy. Like normally we're used to blood being on the ground and maybe on some bushes or whatever. Right. This stuff was head height. Like, that makes sense. So we're not just looking here. We're also looking here and kind of all over. Right. And we get up to this dry riverbed and look down, and he's laying down. Wow. About 120, 130 yards. Okay. Most of the time with dangerous game, you usually put what's called an insurance shot. Yeah. You don't want to walk up to an animal that size and have it still be kicking. So we moved into position. We had a 375 Ruger, and I just put one kind of on the back side of his head. Yep. Made sure that it was anchored, and we were good to go. Yeah. Go up and inspect it. So I shot him on his right side, and it passed through. So it entered a little bit low in his chest cavity. Okay. But it must have hit something that made it go up. Yeah. Because it exited like mid-shoulder. Okay. Which it was so funny to watch the trackers because they were holding this arrow in just absolute disbelief. Yeah. And so the tradition for that specific hunt was the shoulder or the leg that the elephant fell on and the trunk go to the chief.
Oh, okay.
So the whole village comes out. They're all carving this thing up. We're getting the skin off and all of that. It was an amazing sight to see.
That's gonna be wild.
Yeah, it was crazy. And there was nothing left of that elephant except a blood spot and the contents of the stomach.
Okay.
That was it.
Yeah.
So we get there, get to the tribe, and these guys are like, "No, you didn't do that with a bow. Stop lying!" Like all this stuff. So they set up a tractor battery for me at like 20 yards.
Yeah.
And I shoot the tractor battery. Sacrifice an arrow. It's all right.
Yeah.
This arrow goes flying 50 or 60 yards past it. This tribal leader is like stoned on some kind of good because his eyes are red and like all bulged. It was hilarious. He tried to pull the bow back and he couldn't. He got his second in command to come try it with him. It was a great experience.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's cool, man. Yeah, it's funny to see just how lethal some of the bows can be.
Yeah.
I mean, this ain't anywhere near an elephant, but I shot a buffalo and I was blown away I hit him at 60 yards.
Yeah.
And dude, it zipped through him. I still went another 25 yards.
Yeah.
I was like, that was just the first like supersized animal that I'd ever shot beyond an elk.
Yep.
And I was just like, whoa.
Yeah.
That's
Definitely unexpected for sure.
Okay.
I didn't even expect that, to be honest.
Yeah. What is the margin of error like, I guess, on an elephant? Like when you're going to hunt one and they tell you like, here's your kill zone. What is that like?
Well, I mean, for me, obviously, like I'm going for vitals behind the shoulders.
Sure.
I mean, it's feet.
Okay.
Their heart is, I think, bigger than a 5-gallon bucket.
Okay.
So, I mean, you've got that whole 5-gallon bucket, and then their lungs are, probably 5 feet by 6 feet or so.
Right.
Like they're pretty massive.
Okay.
Yeah. And then where it changes is rifle, because normally when you're doing rifle, you're not going for like those vitals. You're going for brain.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
And that's way smaller.
Sure.
Like their brains are, I don't know, probably the size of a grapefruit.
Oh, wow.
Or a little bit bigger.
So it almost seems like you'd rather bow hunt one than rifle hunt if you had to.
It can definitely get sketchy when you're doing rifle stuff.
Okay. Yeah,
Yep.
because if you miss,
Yep.
now he's just pissed.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Dude, that's awesome, man. I can't even imagine being like, all right, we're going on an elephant hunt. Let's talk a little bit in the next segment. We'll kind of we'll wrap up this one. We'll jump into episode 2 later, but in the next episode, we'll kind of talk a little bit about like gear, prep, expectations, kind of the overall experience. We'll touch again on like some safety and stuff, and then we'll kind of wrap up with a little bit of conservation and like community impact. So
Sweet.
We've kind of alluded to some of that already. I think
Yep.
we teed it up nicely, but
Yeah.
so catch us in the next episode, guys, where we talk again with TDK Safaris and all things Africa.
Thank you so much for listening to the Bowhunting AZ podcast. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and smash those 5 stars on iTunes or Spotify and leave a little review at the bottom. It'll really help us out. For our short films, go subscribe over on YouTube. Just search Bowhunting AZ. Don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Bowhunting AZ. Good luck to everyone this season. Thank you again for listening. We'll catch you in the next episode.